Hello everyone, my name is Devin Alfanius. My student parent number is 802265. I'm from class 01PT2 and today I'm going to teach you about basic computer terms. Well, as you can see, computers has come a long way from 1940s to 2021. These long years are filled with improvement, upgrades, and innovations from various engineers and computer scientists all around the world. Along those years of improvement, upgrades, and innovations, there also come with a lot of computer terms, which may be a bit daunting for beginners that want to dive into the computer world. Well, 1940 to 2021 are not a short span of years. The distance between 1940 to 2021 are a whopping 81 years, meaning that beginners in computers will definitely have a hard time of learning 81 years worth of information into their head within a short span of time. And as such, I recommend learning about basic computer terms first, as learning them enables you to understand more about computer hardware and software. Alright then, without further ado, let's get into it. I divide the basic computer terms into three categories. The first one is hardware terms, the second one is software terms, and the third one is the networking terms. First, let us learn about the hardware terms. In hardware terms, there are CPU, memory, disk space, circuit, PCB, pixels, and etc. Well, of course, there are so many computer terms, especially in hardware, that maybe take a long time if I want to mention all of them into these videos. That's why I only pick about 6 of them, so that it can give you a bit of understanding about the computer's hardware. Now, of course, I didn't pick the basic computer's components, as they are not exactly terms, but they are more like a component that, more or less, people that usually use computers will have heard of them and understand what is it. Now, I picked these 6 terms is because they are a bit foreign. Not every people have heard about these components. First, I'm gonna explain about the CPU. CPU is a short term for Central Processing Unit, or also known as the processor. Now, processors or Central Processing Unit is the electronic circuitry that executes instructions comprising a computer program. Now, when you're trying to launch a program, the CPU brings the data that is needed to run the program from the hard drive into the RAM. Now, CPU is more like a policeman in the streets. They manage the traffic of data within your computers, within each of components like video cards, RAM, hard drive, and etc. They manage the data between all of the components in your computers, and as such, they are also called as the brain of the computers. And the second one, we're going to learn about memory. Memory is a device or system that is used to store information for immediate use in a computer or related computer hardware and digital electronic devices. In your mind, maybe you think memory is like a hard drive that is used to store a data. Well, yes, memory is used to store a data, but is not permanently stored within the memory. The computer memory will only keep the data for a definite amount of time, meaning that when you shut down the computers, when you turn off the computers, the data within the computer memory will be lost. The component that are related to the computer's memory is known as RAM. RAM is short for random access memory. So RAM brings up data from the hard drive and keep them inside the RAM so that it can transfer it to any component that needs them. For example, if I want to launch a game, a computer games, then the CPU will fetch the game data from the hard drive and store them into the RAM. And from the RAM, they are going to be launched into the video graphics card. That is the functions of computer memories. They are used only for a definite amount of time. Different from the hard drive, which keep the data for an infinite amount of time or permanently, unless the users wants the data to be erased. Now, the third one is disk space. Disk space is maybe you already know as hard drive, like I mentioned before. Hard drive or disk space is used to store information or data until the users want to see the data again or just want to keep them for safekeeping. Of course, you can store various data or informations within the hard drive, like for example, you want to keep your games, you want to keep informations about your college, about your tasks, about whatever information that you want to keep within them. They are used to save informations for an infinite amount of time. The third one we're going to learn about circuit. Circuit is a type of electrical board that is used to transfer data within computer components or another component. As you already know, the simple example of a circuit is the motherboard. The data is transferred from various components into the board in a form of electricity. These boards conduct electricity and send them as a data to various components in your computers, but also used on a computer peripheral as well, like mouse, keyboard, monitors, and etc. If you open up a mouse, you will see a green board, and that is a circuit. It also ties the same thing into the keyboard. If you try to open them, there are green boards that are plugged into various cables all around the keyboard, and that is known as the circuit. They are transferring data between the keyboard or mouse also into the computer. Now, the fourth one we're going to learn is about the PCB. PCB is short for printed circuit board. Printed circuit board and a circuit is a bit same, but not as much same. While circuit is a simpler terms, a simpler form of a PCB is a bit more specific. PCB are rarely used in a computers, but more like in a computer peripherals and a microcontrollers. Well, in short, the circuit and PCB is a bit same, but PCB is more of a test-specified function rather than a circuit that are more universal than the PCB counterparts. Now, the fifth one that we're going to learn is pixels. Pixels is what you see in the monitors. Pixels is a diode that is used to show images, show colors into a screen, into a monitor screen. So, the best example of pixels is on your monitor screens or your laptop screens or your smartphone screens. If you already heard about 1080p or 720p, they are referring to the amount of pixels. See, monitors and smartphones are consisted of thousands of pixels. If you check your phone or your monitor specs, they are going to list it as whether 1920 times 1080 pixels or 2080 times 720 pixels. These numbers is the amount of pixels that are fitted within your computer monitors or your smartphone screen. The higher the number of pixels, the sharper and the more vivid the color gets. That is all for the hardware terms. Now let's get into the software terms. Now for the software terms, first we're going to learn about data. Data is the terms for information that are stored within your computers. Various data, your files, your games, your documents that are stored within your computers are in form of data. Well, of course, there are various amount of data types like MP4, MP3, PDF, JPG, and PNG. There are various types of data, but at least the terms data refers to the information that are stored within your disk drive or within your hard drive. The second software terms that I want to teach you is about bytes. While data refers to informations that are stored within your hard drive, bytes refer to the amount of data that are stored within your computers. The next one we're going to learn is about virus. Maybe you already heard about virus. Of course, these viruses are not referring to biologic virus that infects humans. This virus or this computer virus infects your computers. They are like disease, similar to human disease, but they infect your data, your bytes, your computer components. How the virus works is they usually duplicate themselves. What these viruses do is usually they destroy your files or your computers or your operating system. These viruses are also known as malware, but they are also a virus that holds your data so that you can use your data unless you paying an amount of money into the virus maker. This is also known as the ransomware. They take ransom of your file in exchange for money. The fourth one we're going to learn is about Trojan. Now, Trojans refers to the Trojan horse that are used by Trojan army during the Trojan War. Now, what Trojan horse in the computers do is that they shroud themselves in some form of files similar to a virus, and then when you're trying to open the files, then the virus starts to working. But you will not realize that the Trojan horse or the virus is already working. Well, of course, you can open the PDF file, you can see the information within it, but the virus sticks. But the Trojan horse sticks into the file so that it can take your computers easily. The fifth one that we are going to learn is about spam. Maybe you have heard of spam before. Spam is the action of sending thousands and thousands of emails or chat. What they do is that they're using a software that enables them to send 1,000 or 2,000 or even a whopping 10,000 files at once into the target's email. Now, of course, I do not condone using spam into your friends or your teachers or your family. These are not good. Now, that is all for software terms. Of course, I did not explain all of them because like hardware terms, there are dozens of software terms that takes a lot of time to explain in this video. The next one we're going to learn is about the networking term. The first one that I'm going to teach to you is firewall. Firewall is basically a defense against malicious attacks like hackers or virus. Now, what's the difference between firewall and antivirus? Antivirus protects your computers on the inside. They keep scanning your computers hundreds and hundreds of times to protect them against virus. Firewall protects the virus from entering inside. The second one we're going to learn is about Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is short for wireless fidelity. It is a term that are referring to wireless internet connections, your phone and your laptop, and on rare cases there are PC that are come with Wi-Fi capability. Wi-Fi, on the other hand, is very flexible and very tremendously flexible. Next one we are going to learn about networking term is router. You may be wondering what is routers. Well, if you have Wi-Fi in your home, like mine, I'm using in my home, routers are used to connect internet from the provider into your computers or your smartphones. They are also routers that are only capable of sending internet from the providers to your computers only using cable. These routers are usually used in very large company that has large amount of servers, large amount of computers, servers in their place, in their buildings, and that is for routers and networking terms. Of course, there are dozens of networking terms that I cannot mention here because it takes a lot of time to explain each one of them into these videos. Now, for the conclusion to these videos. So, of course, computers, no doubt, is very difficult to understand, and even more difficult to complete beginners that have no experience whatsoever with computers. So, like I said, you cannot learn 81 years worth of information into your head in a short amount of time, but you can start learning them little by little by learning these basic computer terms. The computer terms that I have mentioned before is the very basics that you can usually heard or find in a book or in a tutorial video. These terms that I have mentioned to you Of course, no doubt will help you in understanding computers better. Well, of course, these terms doesn't make you master within a day or two in computers, but at least it will help you. It will ease your burden a little in understanding the computers. And of course, you can learn various computer information from different people, from different teachers, from YouTube videos. You can expand your information on computers so much from many people, from many sources, as computer world is very fast and very deep that take years to understand. Even for experienced one, the computer world is still a vast and deep world that needs thorough understanding so you can understand it clearly. And that's it about my tutorial or my presentations about basic computer terms. I'm Devin Alfanius. See you next time.